It's Wellness Wednesday. It's Wellness Wednesday. And we're talking about what does it mean to think someone's a bad person? And this is inspired by, first of all, Blue Sky just being a complete shit show right now. And the thing I'm like, why is this a particular kind of irritating? And it's because with like Trump and Elon Musk and all this stuff, it's just this ongoing series of distractions instead of focusing on undoubtedly shitty behavior, like supporting far right parties with Elon Musk and, telling Holocaust jokes right before the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the camps. It's focused on whether Musk has evil intents or is a bad person. And this is not important to me, but it is very important to other people, apparently. And I've watched people do this to me, going back to what I nicknamed Fucktober, accidentally wearing my Spider-Man shirt. This is the Spider-Man thing shirt, not the Spider-Man shit shirt. This is a clean version I can wear out of the house. But, watching people just write these lengthy treatises that they think prove I'm a bad person without really naming anything terrible that I did. There's a lot of, well, other people say so. Well, other people say so. Well, there have been other people. They have the right to speak if they actually exist. I notice a common theme on some of these things is treating different accounts by the same person as different people, and it's just brazenly the same person. So that's a bit weird. But the whole thing is she's a bad person. She's a bad person. She's a bad person. And the question is, so what? Don't watch my shit. Stop doing play-by-plays on videos I do, like this one. Just if you don't like it, don't watch. And it seems to be a permission structure to, well, she's a bad person, so any mean things I did to her, well, that's fine, because she was mean first, right? Never going to admit that what I'm doing is cruel, but she was cruel first, so it's okay, right? It's things like, oh, she's paranoid, so we're going to write things saying all these people hate you, which is basically a confession that you're knowingly torturing a person that this person believes to be paranoid. So are you lying about the belief that I'm paranoid, or are you deliberately torturing a person you believe to be paranoid, right? Either way, not the best action, right? Similarly, she was cruel to a trans person in 2011. Think about that, right? Think about, even if it's true, which it's not, think about that. If I had been transphobic in 2011, and yeah, you know what? I probably did some things that were transphobic in 2011 because it was a different time. I probably used, the word beginning in T, ending in Y as a joke because back then it wasn't commonly known to be bad. Like, we all do things sometimes that later on we realize, I was stupid about that, right? We all do this stuff. But this idea that I should be condemned now for alleged transphobia over 10 years ago? What does that do? Well, it brands me a bad person, right? And the general idea, right, is that it's okay to do bad things to bad people. It's okay to say my hypervigilance due to PTSD is paranoia because I'm a bad person. You know, it's okay to commit mental health stigma if someone's a bad person. It's okay to be transphobic if someone's a bad person, as long as you don't get caught, right? If someone's a bad person, then it's okay to apply negative stereotypes to them because they're a bad person. It's okay. I don't agree. Okay? I don't agree that terms like, incel and terrorist should be, and that's apparently a thing that Keir Starmer did recently, like linking lonely young adult men to terrorism. It's based on that knife attack at the dance studio. Like, that's murder. Okay? Murder's bad enough. We don't have to call everything terrorism or genocide. Murder's bad enough, right? And this whole punch Nazis thing, I'm so done with that. Because first of all, violent civil disobedience is not the playbook. It's non-violent civil disobedience. Violent civil disobedience just benefits fascist governments. It's what got Nixon reelected. They go, look, those people are scary. And regular people who are scared will line up behind a fascist when they're scared of the big, bad, violent mob. It's not effective, but it's also not good for the person doing it long term. Because deep down, they know they're making excuses to lash out. And lashing out is a form of projection, deflection, and transference. And where you're projecting, deflecting, and transferring, you ain't owning your ish. And it's not gonna get better. It isn't. Making excuses never made a damn thing better. And treating me as, this is the literal definition of a straw man. You create this straw man to put all the bad stuff on, and then you light it on fire in some ritual. And what did that do? Well, okay, it created Burning Man. But, did it actually make your life a little bit better? Maybe temporarily because it gave you something to blame. But the problem is that it doesn't last. All the guilt and shame and blame and bad feelings and low self-worth and unstable sense of self come back. Because at the end of the day, what makes a good person? A series of good acts, right? What makes a bad person? More bad acts than good acts. And that's the thing about these people that keep trying to make me awful. Their thesis is that I'm awful because I'm not perfect. Instead of going some good things, some bad things, right? And to me, if you are treating a person who has done good for some people, and you need to wipe that away to justify your spite and your hatred and your rage and your need for revenge, that is going to eat you in the long term. It is. This isn't about the other person that you're using as an outlet for your hatred, right? The issue with Trump right now is he's hurting people already, right? Like, people's lives are being destroyed with every, plane load of people. There's reports. It comes back and forth whether these are substantiated or not, but a Navajo Nation spokesperson said that they're getting reports of Native Americans. I think that's what you call them in America. We call them indigenous people, but or First Nations, but Native Americans, I believe, is the correct term. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Are being asked to show proof of, citizenship. Native Americans, the American people in America. And we're here first. Holy shit. That's a problem. And they put fucking Dr. Phil embedded. Oh yeah, Dr. Phil, award-winning journalist, Dr. Phil McGraw, who ain't even a doctor anymore. Well, yes, he's still a doctor. He's not a licensed therapist. My correction. He still has his PhD. But they're embedding him to show, oh no, it's not what you've heard. We're not just rounding up brown people. And what is it? It's all this straw man focus on good people, bad people, instead of this behavior had more negative effects than good effects. This behavior had more good effects than negative effects. The real deal is that you will never live a life with zero negative consequence. And if that's your expectation, you're going to be miserable. Okay? Even the best thing for you at a given time will have some people who won't be thrilled about, what you did. The reason I'm still being stalked is because I stood up for a man who was being really badly abused by his female partner, and she has hounded me ever since. Good deed. Don't regret it. The after effects really suck, right? There's a phrase, no good deed goes unpunished, for a reason. Because when you try to actively do good, one, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to accidentally cause harm sometimes. And does that mean you're a bad person? Well, if you keep doing it, then yeah, if you're going, I'm a good person, therefore everything you do is good. Well, no, you're probably not actually a good person. But it's the same. I'm a bad person, therefore don't bother try to be good. You see how this black or white, I'm a good person, therefore everything I do is good, and I'm a bad person, therefore there's no point in me trying to do good, how they both lead you to the bad place? That's why looking at it and going, these are my values. And there are a lot of contradictory values out there. There's a lot of values that just don't mesh. Because, for instance, some people believe that loyalty should trump honesty. I believe that anybody who would ask me to lie to cover up their bad behavior, that's not loyalty, that's abuse, right? And who's right or wrong? I don't really know. I just know that that's what I believe. It's belief. Anybody who expects me to go down to cover up their bad behavior, that's a person I'm going to get away from, right? Anybody that expects me to look the other way when I'm noticing abuse. And it's interesting that all these people that just won't let it go, they're all people that at some point I said to them, look, I think you're being abused, or I think you're being abusive. And that is a really tough conversation to have. I had to have that conversation with myself during the year of intense. Well, no, it was after that, because a year of really intense trauma therapy really beats the shit out of you. And one of the things I wish that, and it's possible that the best practices changed after I went through, because it was just relentless, and some of it was re-traumatizing, and there was not enough self-compassion work that was done. It was always, you got to change this, 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 you got to get rid of this person, you have to shut these people out. And I get why. At the time it was through, York Region Victim Services, and so it was a matter of safety. But it tore pieces out of me. The loss was just too intense. And so I have conversations with, and this is why I'm a big believer in peer counseling, because I'm a quarter to a fifth of the cost of a therapist these days. So somebody can see me during those periods where they need to strengthen their foundation, and therapy where you just go in and be a person, $225 for that's expensive. Effective therapy sometimes requires breaks from therapy, because the therapeutic process is painful, and at times it can make you feel like a broken, bad person. Now, if the therapist is watching it, they watch for that and they help build you up, but a lot of them don't. And some people, depending on the condition, depending on the pathology, no matter how gentle the therapist is, certain conditions, you can't tell someone they did a bad thing without them hearing they're a bad person. And I think that's another reason why all these people might be looking to tear me down, because it all came down to me going like, hey, you lied. That's a bad thing. Here's the way to fix it. And they heard, you lied. You're a bad person. You can never fix this. And it gets into this pattern of they want me to tell them it's okay. And it's not. It might be okay, but it's not okay right now. Lying to manipulate someone is not okay. Stonewalling someone causes damage to relationships. And stonewalling is a tough one, because stonewalling can sometimes be deliberate punishment. It can sometimes be dissociation. But either way, no one can maintain emotional bonds with someone who emotionally runs away from every difficult conversation, right? Even if they're there, some people grew up in families where the mother, the minute it came to, I'm angry at what you did there, Mom. What? I have to go clean. And, oh, look, this is such a mess. That's stonewalling. Okay. Changing the subject like that, suddenly becoming distracted, is a form of stonewalling. And usually you have the mother doing that, or the traditional setup is you have the mom doing that, and then the dad sort of goes, yep, turns on the TV and checks out, right? So a lot of people grew up with two parents who were checked out in different ways, or one parent that did the stonewalling and the other parent who blew up, and we're taught this is normal. And I was the latter scenario. Is busy, never sit down, and rage. And I get more into what kind of rage my father committed in It's Not Therapy this week. Didn't expect it to go there, but it did, and so I just followed it. But, some of the things that I was taught because of that, because my father was I think my father was a terrified person, and that came out in anger. But because he was angry and sometimes violent, the whole household learned to manipulate him to avoid. I was not great at it, but even I picked some things up that I had to recognize were manipulative. Even using rage to avoid feeling fear or feeling disappointment in ourselves or feeling sadness. It's self-manipulation, but it's also manipulating all the people around it. If you blow up or you run away every time there's a tough conversation to be had, people learn, oh, don't even try. Which short-term makes it easier, long-term keeps you stunted. And it's weird because I didn't know I was doing it, but I did know I was doing it. I knew that I was telling people what they wanted to hear instead of what I truly felt. And I was taught that that's what everyone did. It doesn't make it right. And so one of the things I do is I will not lie and tell someone something's okay by me when it's not. Because, and that not placating people has registered to some people as cruelty. And I don't agree. I think that telling people something is okay only to fight for them to find out later that it was absolutely not okay, that's cruel. And I know this because that's what people did to me. And instead of it being something that I could fix at the time, now it was irreversible. And so it was this whole cycle of people wouldn't tell me because, oh, she's sick. Don't upset the sick person. And if they told me at the time, it would have been like, fuck. No, that is not what happened. And it could be cleared up at the time. Instead, they tried to protect me and they did it wrong. And so I ended up looking way worse than it would have had it been dealt with at the time. And so I'd get very upset. And then they go, see, when I told you you had a bad reaction. It's apples and oranges, So I decided I was never going to do that to people because that really fed my hypervigilance, right? The idea that people were keeping things from me and making it seem like they agreed with me when they didn't. And then afterwards you get hit with, well, I never agreed with you. I always thought it was okay, easy to say. So you were a shit friend at the time. You couldn't be honest. You couldn't have the conversation with me that you thought what I was doing was wrong. Why was that? Because I was being nice. No, you're being manipulative. Right? That is one of those bad people things that we think is a good person thing. If you're not being honest with someone, that is on you. You may have your reasons, but it's on you. And there is no, I'm a good person, so this is good. And there is no, I'm a bad person, so nothing I do is good. And, men are predators. So how do we expect men to even try to be good with that messaging? Like, come on. Women are bitches. Women are manipulative. How do we encourage women to do better than that? If you are saying you are innately this, if you want someone to improve, you don't cast them as evil. And those of us who do believe that we are good people, far from perfect people, but good people, right? Because sometimes the best or the right choice is subjective, and sometimes the greater of goods versus lesser of evils choice is murkier than people like to make it seem. I mean, even voting, every president does some good things, does some bad things. No one comes out of that office without a body count, right? You have to make some choices where people lose their lives there. And you just have to hope it's the right choice. The higher up you get, the more complicated your choices get. You know that you can't make any decision without some pain. And it gets real tough. And the only way to move through that is, I believe I'm a good person because these are my values. Is this choice, that no matter what choice I make, I'm going to upset someone. Is this choice consistent with my values? Can I live with this? Right? Can I sleep at night making this choice, knowing people are going to talk hella shit about me? People are going to try to burn me down for this. That's all you can really do. It isn't, oh, I'm a good person, so I can do this bad thing just once. And that doesn't mean you don't have emotions. That doesn't mean you don't get pushed past your breaking point. That doesn't mean you can't go, not my finest moment, but you know what? I was worn down. And I have to live with people telling me I committed deliberate cruelty when I was triggered. And then they address the trigger with, well, you didn't work on your triggers. Okay, which is it? Which is it? Am I an out of control triggered lunatic? Or was I deliberately cruel? Oh, well, I didn't mean deliberately. It just seemed to me that it was cruel. Again, was I triggered and lazy about it? Or was I cruel? It doesn't really mean anything. It really doesn't. When you get into a conversation with a person like that, what they are telling you is, you're bad, I'm good, shut up, you crazy bitch. And at that point, you walk, right? At that point, you're a man. You can't help it. You just, all these bad things. Walk. You're never going to convince that person. Women are just manipulative. Women are too picky. Walk. These are manipulative, controlling statements. And they're red flags. You know? Oh, you're just so angry. You have anger problems. That could be true. But even a person with anger management has valid points sometimes. You can validate the feeling without agreeing with the behavior. And good people can do bad things. Bad people can do good things. And just because a bad person does one good thing doesn't mean you're going to forgive them. But you owe it to yourself to recognize that's still a good thing. Because if we want the world to get better, we need to give bad people a chance to do better. What's the point? It's the Bad Place show, right? Everybody just ends up in the bad place. The system is rigged. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. Thanks for watching and be well.